So some women will find it difficult to locate the pelvic floor, and they may need a variety of cues, which is why we're going to explore all different aspects of how to actually verbally cue the pelvic floor, and understand that everyone's going to think about this area in a different way. And some people will be more visually oriented, some people will be more esoteric or energetic in their approach to the pelvic floor. But one fantastic pragmatic way is to simply create a gentle pressure against the perineum. So a rolled up towel can be a fantastic way to do this. And you can also use a soft yoga block too, for the purposes of bringing awareness. So what we would do is we would place the rolled up towel underneath the perineum, and if our knees don't love being in the Virasana style of position, we can also do this exercise sitting on a chair, sitting directly over the rolled up towel or block. And the rolled up towel creates pressure between the pubic bone and the tailbone. And it is an area that when we do inhale, we will notice the muscles gently drawing down towards the towel. And when we exhale, the idea is that we lift the muscles away from the towel. And because the pressure is giving us some feedback, it's a really nice way for us to understand whether or not we're achieving the movement either towards the towel on the inhalation phase with an expansion and a softening, and drawing the pelvic floor muscles away from the towel on the exhale as we come into a contraction. We can also experiment a little bit with the grade of our contraction. So the elevator exercise is a fantastic way to do this. And what this involves is actually understanding that we don't always have to bring a pelvic floor into a full 100% power contraction. Quite often, if we're lifting something quite heavy, it's a good idea to have good awareness of switching the pelvic floor muscles on strongly. But if we're just in our light everyday world and we're doing some light asana, for example, sometimes just a 30% contraction or a 60% contraction can be more suitable and functional for the pelvic floor muscles. So for the purposes of having the feedback from the towel or from the block, we can come into an awareness of softening on the inhale, gently on the exhale, drawing the muscles into a 100% contraction, inhaling back to the ground floor where we notice the pelvic floor muscles softening and expanding into the towel again. But then on our next exhale, maybe only lifting to 30% of the contraction strength. And understanding the subtleness and the subtle nature of only drawing the muscles to 1/3 of their capacity, while we still maintain the 30% contraction, let's also try holding that mula bandha to 30%, that contraction to 30%, while we take some breaths. As we inhale, we soften back down towards the towel. On the next inhale, on the exhale, let's draw to 2/3 of the pelvic floor strength. Hold it at the 2/3 mark while we take 5 breaths. You might even notice that holding at the 2/3 mark is quite a strong contraction for the pelvic floor, especially if we're holding it for a whole 5 breaths. And another reason why this can be quite a strong contraction is because we're working against gravity, against the pressure of the pelvic organs and abdominal organs. And sometimes the muscle will get really tired if we hold it in that on position for too long. Let's think of the example of when we get our shopping bags out of the car and we're bringing them all the way inside, and we really might only need a 30% contraction for the duration of that journey, because otherwise the muscles would get very fatigued. But the rule of thumb is that whenever we load up the body with any kind of weight or carrying capacity, we would actually want to have some protection for the pelvic floor in those functional activities. On the yoga mat, whenever we engage the core and load the core up, we're going to need to regulate the level of contraction so that at times we'll be bringing it onto that 30% mark. At other times, when we're really possibly in quite an intense posture, it might need to be 60%. And then occasionally, like if we're in a really strong Utkatasana chair pose, for example, we might actually need a 100% root lock on. But let's not forget that quite often the muscles are being overactivated, and we want that subtleness and that refinement to be part of our awareness. So I hope that's been helpful. We'll certainly be exploring these concepts inside the vinyasa and standing and seated postures. And have a wonderful day. Bye. Namaste.